Creationist Science. This is a recent book we've released at Reasons to Believe. The subtitle is A Testable Model Approach to End the Creation-Evolution Wars. The Reasons to Believe ministry is a little over 20 years old right now, but the thing that I have noticed over the past 20 years is that these creation-evolution debates have become increasingly more hostile, and society is becoming more and more polarized as a result of these debates, and it's really the root of the science education crisis. And the basic appeal of creation in science is to lower the hostility through open competition among testable explanations of nature's record. And what is nature's record? The origin and the history of the universe, planet Earth, and life upon that planet. Now, this raises a question. Are creation explanations of nature's record even viable? Are they even legal in American society and society at large? Well, we argue in the book that it is perfectly legal based on 4 court cases that have rendered decisions on creation science education. And what the courts did, particularly the 1987 Supreme Court ruling, made the point that the Constitution of the United States guarantees the freedom of religion. We're not to interpret it as guaranteeing the freedom from religion. This is not the Soviet Union, where no religion is permitted at all. It's the freedom of, not the freedom from. And the intent of the framers of the Constitution in putting that First Amendment in is to prevent a state-run or a state-mandated church or denomination. The concern was that there may be a situation where every American would have to be a Lutheran or have to be a Baptist or a Congregationalist. In fact, when our nation was founded, they did permit the states to have mandated churches, but they said that would not be the case at the federal level. Well, since then, the 2 states that did have mandated denominations, namely Massachusetts and Maryland, one being Catholic, the other being Congregationalist, have followed the federal suit, and throughout America there is now the freedom of religion, and we're not to interpret it as a freedom from. Now, one of the most helpful contributions of the 1987 Supreme Court rendering was the fact that they stated that any explanation of the origin and development of the universe or life that shows scientific integrity and credibility can be taught regardless of the theological implications. In other words, the theology behind the explanation is not what matters. What matters is its scientific integrity and credibility. The court rulings affirm that the U.S. Constitution cannot be used to keep good science out, nor can it be used to force bad science in. And that's really the reason why Christians lost those 4 court cases. They were trying to force a bad scientific explanation of the creation record into the public education arena, and the U.S. courts very correctly ruled that that can't be done. On the other hand, they did guarantee that any explanation that did have integrity and credibility was in, regardless of the theology. So, for example, Big Bang cosmology, even though it points to the God of the Bible, can't be ruled out since it is based on sound science. And the courts are really mandating a free market environment for scientific research and education. And this is, one of my passions for writing this book, Creationist Science, is it seems like there are forces on both the evolutionary side and the creation side to try to limit a free market competition amongst explanations of the record of nature. Now, with that, I want to review for you the Reasons to Believe testable creation model. And what we do at Reasons to Believe is we start with the simple sciences, then move step by step to the more complex sciences. And so what I'm going to do for you today is begin with the simple sciences of mathematics, physics, and astronomy, Those are the sciences that are so simple that the different objects we're studying obey equations of state, and differential equations will help you predict past and future behavior. Then we'll move into the more complex sciences where the subject matter is so enormously complex we can't use that kind of mathematics to help frame what's going on. So we're going to begin with cosmology. Now, the first book I ever read on cosmology is when I was 7 years of age. It was by the famous British cosmologist Fred Hoyle. And in his book, he stated that the Bible was filled with cosmology. And what the Bible had to say about cosmology was amazing given the time in which it was written. Well, the first time I went through the Bible at age 17, I did note that the Bible stated repeatedly 3 things about the universe. Namely, that the universe can be traceable back to an ex nihilo beginning. That means an actual beginning of the universe out of nothing, a beginning of space-time, matter, and energy. That the universe continuously expands from that point of beginning, and it expands under constant physics, such that with the universe having fixed physical laws and continuously expanding, this would be a universe that under those laws of physics would get colder and colder as the universe gets older and older. And today we recognize these statements as the 3 fundamental foundations of Big Bang cosmology. And it's not Albert Einstein that came up with Big Bang cosmology first. It wasn't Wilson and Penzias. Rather, it was Bible authors thousands of years ago who first described these details of the universe. Now, many of you are probably aware of at least a few of the verses in the Bible that talk about this cosmic beginning, how the universe is traceable back to a single beginning in finite time. Probably the most famous of these passages would be Genesis 1:1. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And in using the word create, the Hebrew word bara, it means to bring something brand new into existence which never existed before. And then you've got Hebrews 11:3 that says that the universe that we can detect was made from that which we cannot detect. And then we have passages I don't have up here by the Apostle Paul which speak about an actual beginning of space and time that's coincident with the creation of the universe. Well, in the 21st century, we now have scientific evidence that what the Bible says about cosmic creation is correct. And this is significant because the other religions of the world speak about God or gods creating within space and time. The Bible uniquely stands alone in talking about a God that creates independent of matter, energy, space, and time. Now, the first evidence we had for this was published in 1970 in this paper in the Astrophysical Journal. And this is the first of the space-time theorems of general relativity. This is what vaulted Stephen Hawking and Roger Penrose to worldwide fame. And in this paper, they point out that if the equations of general relativity reliably describe the dynamics of the universe, and if indeed the universe contains matter, then the entire universe must be traceable back to a beginning. And it's a beginning of matter, energy, space, and time. And there's a corollary to this paper which implies that there must be a causal agent beyond space and time that's responsible for bringing into existence this universe. Now, no one questions that the universe contains mass, but when this paper was published back in 1970, we were only able to prove that general relativity reliably described the dynamics of the universe to 1% precision, to 2 places the decimal. But thanks to discoveries made at the end of the 20th century and the beginning of the 21st century, in the words of Roger Penrose, general relativity now ranks as the most exhaustively tested and best proven principle in all of physics. And some experiments actually demonstrate that general relativity reliably describes cosmic dynamics to better than 14 or 15 places the decimal. In other words, to better than 1/trillionth of a percent precision. Therefore, there's no basis for doubting this conclusion that if the universe contains mass, and if general relativity reliably describes cosmic dynamics, then space and time must be created by a causal agent that transcends space and time. Now, this first paper was a space-time theorem in the context of classical general relativity. What has happened since 1970 is a number of astrophysicists have gone to the next level and tried to develop space-time theorems that take into account not just gravity, but the effect of quantum mechanics. Because in the early history of the universe, the forces of gravity and quantum mechanics become comparable, and therefore there's been a development of several dozen space-time theorems based on different quantum gravity constructs for the universe. And as such today that we have a goodly number of these space-time theorems, and all of them are coming to this conclusion that there indeed must be this ultimate beginning of space and time.